When I see people like Sanders saying that we should eliminate all of student debt, I think that's a really big stupid thing to do. How would you feel if you were the one who was paid off all your debt? You went to college, you paid your debt, and then you find out that the next generation is gonna get everything handed to them on a silver platter. I would be pissed. Even then, I'm still pretty pissed. Now, and I know what you're thinking. Well, maybe it's because maybe you do not have debt, Carlos. That's why you're against this. No, I do have debt. I do have debt. It's not a matter of simply saying it is a wrong thing to do, but the thing is that it's learning from the experience. Life is full of mistakes. You will make mistakes throughout your entire lifetime. The whole point about it is the whole thing about life is learning from your mistakes and actually overcoming them. By eliminating debt just like that, people are not gonna learn from their mistakes. If you have thousands of dollars in debt because you chose to go to a university that was incredibly expensive and waste your degree on a gender studies degree or on a degree that wasn't gonna get you a job, is I consider that to be very financially irresponsible. I have debt. I have $2,000 that I borrowed because I needed to pay for college, and I also have like $500 in credit card debt because I had to pay for car parts. I actually had to replace some parts for my car. As of right now, I am in debt as I have $2,500 in debt. That's not a lot for someone who's 22 years old. But why is that? Because I am financially responsible. I spend within my means, and I do not abuse my credit cards. I have, I think, four credit cards, and I only use one. So I think that's pretty financially. I think I consider that being financially responsible. Don't you think? But before we go into the article, go ahead and go to carlosredvids.com if you'd like to support my work directly. There's also a members page, so you can just join by simply logging into the website. There's also a forum if you like to post local news, statewide news, nationwide or worldwide news. It really does help. I really want to increase the community. That way, you guys can talk with other people, and you can exchange ideas, have discussions on the forum. But I'm gonna have to ask you to keep things civil and respectful. But let's go on with the article. This is from the Washington Post. It states, and the title reads: Sanders proposes canceling entire 1.6 trillion in U.S. student loan debt, escalating Democratic policy battle. Senator Bernie Sanders proposed on Monday eliminating all $1.6 trillion of student debt held in the United States, a significant escalation of policy fight in the 2020 Democratic presidential primary 2 days before the candidates' the first debate in Miami. This article is a day old, so they're talking about tomorrow's debates, which I am going to watch. I'm looking forward to them. Sanders is proposing the federal government pay to wipe clean the student debt held by 45 million Americans, including all private and graduate school debt, as part of the package that also will make public universities, community colleges, and trade schools tuition free. Sanders proposes to pay for these plans with a tax on Wall Street that his campaign says will raise more than $2 trillion over 10 years, although some tax experts give lower revenue estimates. Sanders was joined Monday by Representative Ilhan Omar, a Democrat from Minnesota, who will introduce legislation in the House to eliminate all student debt in the United States, as well as Representative Pramila Jayapal, I think that's how you pronounce it, Democrat from Washington, co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, who has championed legislation to make public universities tuition free. Sanders helped popularize demands for tuition-free college during his 2016 presidential campaign run, but did less to emphasize solutions for those who had already left school saddled with debt. Since then, liberal Democratic lawmakers have called for increasingly aggressive government solutions for erasing existing student debt, with 2020 candidate Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat of Massachusetts, proposing $640 billion in student debt forgiveness, and former Housing Secretary Julian Castro, I pronounce it that way, but whatever, introducing a more modest debt forgiveness plan. These proposals have faced fierce objections, including from some moderate Democrats, for giving taxpayer subsidies to educated Americans who on average have higher earnings than those with only a high school degree. Advocates say the push reflects the growing recognition of economic harm created by the nation's soaring student debt burden, particularly on the millennial generation, which ballooned from 90 billion to 1.6 trillion in about 2 decades, according to federal data. This is a truly revolutionary proposal, said Sanders, who announced the plan with the support of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the representative who basically downplayed the Holocaust, and a handful of other House Democrats. And a generation hard hit by the Wall Street crash of 2008, it forgives all student debt and ends the absurdity of sentencing an entire generation to a lifetime of debt for the crime, and I do that in quotes, crime of getting a college education. Sanders is proposing to pay for the legislation with a new tax on financial transactions, including a 0.5% tax on stock transactions and a 0.1% tax on bonds. Such a levy would curb Wall Street speculation while reducing income inequality, according to a report from the Century Foundation, a left-leaning think tank, although conservatives warn it would stunt economic growth and investment. Conservatives and moderate Democrats are likely to raise concerns about the student debt forgiveness plans. They have pointed out that the Democratic presidential candidates, including Sanders, have pushed more than a dozen expensive federal projects, including Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, and large infrastructure improvements. Projected to cost substantially more than 1.5 trillion. It's projected to cost substantially more than the 1.5 trillion GOP tax law approved in 2017 at a time of already high deficits. The cost will march towards 3 trillion and benefit a lot of wealthy families and future high earners, said Brian Riddell, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm gonna go with Riddell, an analyst at the Manhattan Institute, a libertarian-leaning think tank. Of all problems requiring a 3 trillion federal expenditure, the college costs of middle and upper class college graduates seem lower priority. A fierce debate has raged in left-leaning policy circles, as well as over whether canceling student debt offers too much help to families with higher incomes. The top 40% of earners would receive over about two-thirds of the benefits from Warren's plan, according to Adam Looney, a former Treasury official under President Barack Obama, who is now at the Brookings Institution, a center-left think tank. The number is likely to be higher under Sanders' plan, given that proposals by Warren and Castro do not call for wiping clean the student debt of those earning over six figures. Warren has proposed for giving up to $50,000 in student debt for those earning under 100 grand, or about 42 million people. Under Castro's plan, borrowers will not have to repay their loans until their income rose above 250% of the federal poverty line, about $64,000 for a family of four, after which would be capped. Sarah Goldrick-Rab, a professor at Temple University who specializes in higher education and financing, said that she had mixed feelings about plans such as the one proposed by Sanders that involve forgiving all student debt. There's a piece of me that has seen how widespread the pain is, including among people you might say are financially fine, Goldrick-Rab said, but there's a piece of me that knows what the pot looks like and says that that's not the best use of the money. Other experts say these criticisms miss the mark. If the plans are paid for with higher taxes on affluent Americans, they will ultimately redistribute resources down the income distribution, said Marshall Steinbaum, a former researcher at the Roosevelt Institute, who recently hired as an economics professor at the University of Utah. Student debt forgiveness would also help stimulate economic growth by freeing borrowers to buy homes and improve their credit, while primarily benefiting racial minorities, according to Steinbaum and researchers at the Levy Institute. A left-leaning think tank, Omar, who has student debt, how coincidental that you have student debt and now you're supporting a law that will erase all student debt, Omar? That's really fishy. But let's go on. Said in a statement that the plan would unleash billions of dollars in economic growth. Additionally, poorer Americans would see the percentage of their income held in debt fall much more dramatically than that of higher earners under the plan, Steinbaum said. Steinbaum has also disputed Looney's analysis, arguing it ignores people who have so much debt they cannot pay. The difference in these plans may reflect a wider debate in the Democratic Party over how to tailor government programs. Sanders has proposed universal government programs whose benefit also go to the rich and do not depend on recipients' earnings. Sanders' Medicare for All plan, for instance, would offer government health insurance to every American regardless of income, a break from Obama's Affordable Care Act, which aimed to expand insurance primarily to low-income individuals. Supporters say making government programs also available to the affluent makes them more politically durable. Citing the popularity of programs such as libraries and K-12 public education, the critics contend such programs offer help to those who do not need it. Warren, for instance, has proposed a child care plan that would make child care free only for those earning up to $51,200 in the case of a family of four. Her approach also makes her plans much less likely to require tax hikes on middle-class Americans. She has said that she can pay for these programs with tax hikes on people with more than $50 million and on corporations with more than $100 million in profits. Math that is made easier because her plans cut off those above a certain income bracket. Sanders has embraced higher taxes on the middle class, saying families will benefit overall by seeing other expenses reduced. Critics are likely to say that Sanders' plans reflect his attempts to distinguish himself from Warren, who has risen in the polls during the past several months of the Democratic primary, sometimes overtaking Sanders' number 2 position in polling behind former Vice President Joe Biden. Warren's student loan plan would entirely clear student debt for more than 75% of borrowers. She has also embraced some universal plans, co-sponsoring Sanders' single-payer legislation. Like Sanders, Warren has crusaded against rising income inequality and released detailed proposals for taking on Wall Street and expanding government programs. Sanders' higher education plan may reflect other ways he's attempted to stake out the left flank of the primary. For instance, his previous free college tuition plan in Congress would eliminate tuition and fees only at four-year public colleges for those making up $125,000, the result of a compromise he reached with Hillary Clinton after the 2016 presidential campaign. Sanders previously campaigned on free college tuition regardless of income in 2016. His new plan goes further, calling for public four-year colleges and community colleges to be free for everyone, including tuition and fees. Sanders' bills include $1.3 billion a year for low-income students at historically black colleges and universities, and $48 billion per year for eliminating student tuitions and fees at public schools and universities. It all sounds fine and dandy. Honestly, it really does. It sounds nice to have the government take care of you and forgive all your student debt. But let's face it, all it does is just simply, take away accountability. Sorry, my battery's running low. But all it does is take away accountability. All it does is simply, reinforce irresponsibility. And that is why when I see someone like this proposing that, that they remove all student debt, I think I consider it a very ridiculous statement. I have student debt, but I choose to be financially responsible in order to pay it off. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that Bernie Sanders is doing the right thing here by eliminating all student debt? Do you agree with Warren's statement saying that she will only remove 50 grand, meaning a substantial amount? Let me know what you guys think. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notifications button as well. Share with your friends, that really helps, and I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Until next time.